Okay, so the plant species project, like I said, it's not due till November 23rd. We'll be working on it today and Friday. Right? And those will be the two class days that you will get to work on that. So on this one here, there's no societal part like there was on the toxin project. Okay, this is strictly research. Tell me about your plants. Okay, whatever plant it is that you're going to decide on. Okay, that's you tell me about its adaptations. Okay, especially in terms of some of the things we've talked about, like how plants transport materials. You know, their adaptations, tropisms, all that kind of stuff. If we've talked about it in class and your plant does it, it should be in here. Okay. So you're to examine the growth patterns and adaptations of a plant of your choice. That should include a detailed description of the plant's native environment, right? Where does it grow? So, and I mean, and by that I don't mean South America, okay? I mean like in jungles where day length doesn't change and precipitation is heavy and blah, blah, blah. Like actually go into what are the environmental conditions like. Don't just give me a geographic location, right? What are the things that it has to deal with? So, you know, if it's a cactus, then, you know, lives in the high desert and it's very dry, and okay, talk about those kinds of things. All right. And so the conditions it must deal with in its environment, and then that leads to a detailed description of how your plant grows, adapts, and deals with those conditions. Okay, so what kind of things does it have to face? How does it face those? Okay, look at any tropisms it may employ. What type of root system does it have? Fibrous or tap? Okay, what do its leaves look like? Okay, are its leaves adapted to those certain conditions? Have they, you know, like on a cactus, they become thorns? Okay, things like that. How is its stem distributed? How does it compete with other plants in its environment? Some plants secrete toxic compounds into the soil. Mason, Mason. Okay, I'm explaining something here. Okay. Um, you know, they release toxic chemicals into the soil to poison other plants. Okay, so they can't grow around them. Okay, things like that. Like there's all kinds of different ways that plants can compete with each other. All right. So look at, you know, maybe something that your plant does. Does it have any other special adaptations to prevent it from being eaten, damaged, or maybe to help it get pollinated? Right. I know there's one that's very popular that people often want to do their project on, whose flower smells like rotten meat. Okay, like it reeks when it blooms, right? And what does that cause? Yeah, flies. Yeah, exactly. Like animals, flies are animals. They're insects, but insects are animals, and they just flock to this thing because it smells like a decomposing carcass, right? And so they go in there looking for food. Pollen gets stuck on them, and they fly over to another one that smells the same way, and they drop the pollen on it, and whammo, okay, you've got pollination occurring. So what are some, you know, things like that? Just look for anything. Look for anything that seems like kind of different, okay, that would be an adaptation that would help it survive or be successful or thrive, okay, in its environment, okay. So the outline goes, okay, in your project, you need to report on the structure of your plant. Is it a flowering plant? Is it a conifer? Conifers are ones that make cones, okay. Is it a moss, etc.? Okay, what are its specific needs in terms of light, water, soil, nutrients, etc.? Okay, describe again the conditions your plant must be able to survive and how it does that. Use your knowledge of plant structure, growth, and development to illustrate how your species is unique or adaptive. Okay, everybody follow there? Okay, so I mean, there's not too much analysis going on here. You're basically just finding the facts and reporting them to me. Okay, so in terms of growth, development, and life cycle, okay, be specific. Describe how the plant is seeded. So, you know, do its seeds come out of cones? Are they spores that are windborne? Are they in a fruit? Okay, whatever. Okay, how it initially develops. What conditions may be necessary for this to occur? We talked about how, you know, like a lodgepole pine, seeds don't get released until the cones are burned. Okay, stuff like that. Are there special conditions? Does it have to be eaten and pass through the gut of an animal? Okay, etc. Describe how it grows as a sapling or sprout, and at what age it may be considered mature. Okay, these are all things to look for. They don't, I mean, if you didn't have one of these things, that probably wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't be a big deal, but they're just things that you might want to look for. Okay. Describe whether your plant is an annual, which means it grows for how long? 1 year. Okay, a perennial keeps coming back every year. Okay, is it evergreen? Is it deciduous? Okay, so evergreens like spruce and pine. Okay, whereas deciduous lose their leaves every year. Okay, how does this affect its growth and development, etc. Okay, environmental influences describe the conditions. Again, the plant's environment, how that can affect its tissues. Are there parasitic organisms? Are there long seasons of dormancy? Okay, things like that. Does it resist or fight those infections? Is fire, flooding, drought, freezing something they have to worry about, like the eucalyptus tree? Okay, it can be burned right down to the bark and it will survive because its bark is porous and it insulates the inside of the tree against the heat of fire. So even if the outside of the tree gets burnt, the tree will grow back. Okay, like that's a pretty major adaptation considering that the eucalyptus tree lives in places where wildfires are incredibly common, like they happen every couple of years. Okay, it can grow back after being burned, right? Things like that. Okay, visual aids. Your project must, in capital letters, must contain diagrams or pictures. Okay, probably both. Okay, but there should be lots of things for me to look at when I am marking it. Right, and I did mention that in the toxin project, but I had a number of assignments that came back with no pictures, and while the information in them was good, I get bored if I don't have pictures to look at. Okay, so put some pictures in there of your plants, and maybe you can usually find a diagram of its life cycle or something in there that kind of helps with what you're talking about. Okay, also graphs and charts of growth studies, etc. Could be found. Okay, video clips. I mean, if someone's got a time lapse video of this plant growing from a sapling or something like that, you can include that or something. Okay. Then citing your references. Okay, we want to make sure we do this right this time. Okay, I still had a number of people who lost marks on this the last time, and I don't want them to lose marks the second time. So remember, for an internet source, which is probably where you're going to get the bulk of your information, author's name. Okay, this is exactly the same one I used last time. Author's name. Okay, the date that article was published, the name of the article. Right. So, okay. And if you can't find the author, what do you put instead? Right, or various contributors, there may be many, okay, from whatever the website is, okay? But look hard, right? If I see every single source says I can't tell who the author is, then I'm not going to be terribly impressed with probably how hard you look, okay? So try and find an author's name, okay? If not, then you put contributors from, I don't know, the Department of Botany, University of Calgary or whatever, okay? So this is the date the article was posted. Usually you can find that. If you can't, then it's the last day the site was updated. It's usually on the homepage. Okay, so last update. Okay, then this is the title of the article. All right, this is the name of the website. Okay, then you have the URL, so just copy and paste whatever's in the address bar, okay, and then the date you accessed it. So if you start today, November 6th, 2017. Yes, you still have to cite pictures. So if you take pictures from an article or from another website, that's still someone else's work, right? You didn't click the picture. You can usually, actually, it's usually easier to find the photographer's name because oftentimes they'll put it in as a watermark on the picture, right? They'll say, copyright whoever. So if you do a Google image search, okay, and you click on visit page, you can usually the person's name is there with the picture because if it's in somebody else's article, it'll say photo credit so-and-so, right? Everyone kind of follow there. So it shouldn't be too hard. Like it's honestly, it is easier to find the photographer of a picture than it is an author of a paper, which makes no sense, but it seems to be true. What do you mean a published name? Yeah, because if it's in an article, it's the same as the article, right? Okay, and oftentimes, like I say, it'll say copyright so and so, and then the date or the year at least, right? So if you don't have an exact date, as long as you have the year. Okay. All right. So yes, that's a good question about the pictures, Jess. Yeah, I just haven't got there yet, but yes, there will be the 5 marks for planning again, same as last time. All right, so any questions on the bibliography format? Okay, so minimum 5, you shouldn't have any trouble getting 5. Okay, really. Okay, so you should have at least 5 references, and then planning. Same as last time. I want to see 2 of these 3 things. Everybody has to have a timeline. Okay, everybody has to have a timeline that says when you worked on it. All right, if you want to plan ahead and write that out, that's fine. If you want to just fill it in as you go, that's fine. You want to do both, that's fine. As long as you have a timeline that says when you worked on it and what you did. Okay, so you can say November 6th, started research, listened to Clear Talk, looked for pictures of corpse flower, okay, or whatever it is you're going to choose. All right. And then the other 2 things, you can have either a thought web or an outline, whichever, something that shows that you've thought how you're going to tie your ideas together. Okay, so whichever makes more sense. If you're, right-brained, then probably the thought web makes more sense, and if you're left-brained, then probably the outline makes more sense. Whichever makes more sense to you, I don't care. Okay, just show one of the 2. Like paragraph 1, talk about this. Paragraph 2, or page 1 or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so the formats, okay, again, I've put 2 things in there. You can choose if you're going to do the Google Slides or the Google Doc, okay? Whichever one you choose to do is fine. Okay, just remember the word count only works in Docs. So you might want to do all your typing in Docs and then copy it over to Slides. If you're wanting to do it in Slides, it makes no difference to me, okay? Just whichever one you don't end up using, delete it. All right, I don't know, this is a typo. It says 3 class periods, but you're only getting 2. So the stuff here should be between 1,200 and 600 words, which is about what most of you made your toxin project last time anyway. Okay, that will do a more than sufficient job of what we need. Okay, I know I said 800 to 1,000 for the toxin project, but I told you you're not going to get a great mark if it's 800. So 1,200 to 1,600, which is what most of you ended up having, okay, around that area anyway for the toxin project. If to give you an idea, 1,500 words or 1,600 words in the Google Docs defaults, so that's 12 points, Arial, single spaced, is just under 2 pages. Okay, so it's not a terribly large amount of stuff to write. No, I'm just saying that's about how long. To give you an idea of how long, yeah, that's the defaults, right? I prefer Times New Roman myself, or Sego print. I like that too, although you can't really type a whole thing. It's kind of artsy looking. Okay, so yeah, that's the expectation for length. Okay, between 1,200 and 1,600. I think you'll find that you get there pretty quick. Okay, with all the stuff that you got to be looking for here. Okay. Again, I know I have the slide number here, but I don't know why I put that on there. It's just because that one kid who put like 4 words on each slide and then got 40 slides, and he had only, 160 words. So forget the slide count. I want the word count. That's what's important. Okay. All right. So the 5 categories are same as the toxin project. You get 5 marks for your planning, so your timeline, and then whichever of the other 2 you choose, the thought web or outline. Okay, analysis and interpretation, so that's your research, your ideas, the stuff, how cool is the information you found, etc. Okay, communication, reading over your project, does it make sense? Am I able to follow your thoughts? Okay, I'm not stumbling over grammar and things like that. Research and investigation, so 5 marks for format and references and all of that. And then overall, just what impression does your report make? Okay, you got pictures that make sense and that go along with what you're talking about. Are they in the right place? Okay, formatting. Are they slammed in there and then the text is all over the place around them, or did you make it wrap around them in a readable fashion? Okay, things like that. All right, any questions on what you guys are doing there? Okay, have at her.